constantly thinking about everything you need to do, well, this one thing is almost guaranteed to ruin your Sunday night. Trying to retain as much as possible while also trying to plan for when to do what, I can't stand it. It's just awful and exhausting, and that's why I set out to develop a planning system to stop doing that to myself. But just like any system I built, it had to pass a durability test, otherwise I wouldn't stick to it. First, it had to be simple and easy. Second, it had to handle everything from benign to complicated. And third, it had to fit into my existing ecosystem, meaning no new devices or apps. As a rule, if I get anything new, it has to complement and not replace. And so it began. Week by week, I built a planning routine using familiar tools we all have: notes, reminders, and calendar. And that's what I want to share with you today. So what's planning? Planning can be one of those simple big words that's hard to define in simple terms. It's like productivity, that's another one. For me, planning is two things. First, it's getting things out of my head. And then, once I see those things, on the outside, I can decide what moves the needle. So for this video, I broke my process down into 7 small steps to make it easy to follow. And make sure you hang out until the end for an awesome giveaway. So let's dig in, shall we? Every week I start with a reset inside Apple Reminders. This is where I keep all my essential information about my commitments, priorities, and where things stand. And the Kanban view in Reminders gives me that clarity, the full picture of what I got myself into. Any tasks that I did not finish last week become my baseline. But instead of pushing those tasks forward onto the next week, I pull them back into my planning space. And I do that because I want all of my unfinished tasks to sit next to everything else I'm going to think about. I'm effectively starting with a clean slate. So I open Reminders, select everything that didn't get done last week, and cut that into notes right into my weekly planning space. Why does this work? It resets the context. Some tasks no longer matter. Some will need to be rethought, and some are still on point. But for now, I just want to start over on a new page instead of adding to last week's leftovers. It keeps my system clean, intentional, and guilt-free. And it avoids cluttering my reminders and my brain with ghost tasks that follow me around. Next, I launch Notes and open my weekly planning note. It's just a note in a checklist mode that I reuse every week. The carryovers from reminders get dropped here, and then I pull everything out of my head and onto my checklist. Personal work, errands, follow-ups, random ideas, all of it. No structure, no categories, no thinking, no analyzing, just raw brain dump. And the moment it hits the page, it stops doing loops in my head, and my brain stops trying to store and categorize it, and it is now ready to process it. When I'm done, I have everything in one place in Notes, and that becomes my fresh starting point. Next, I go down the list and simply check the items I want to commit to next week. At this step, I'm not trying to prioritize a schedule, I'm just choosing what stands out. This step creates intention without pressure. When I check things off, Notes automatically sends them down to the bottom. And this is not some kind of mind trick. Just because I'm marking things as done, it will set some sort of magical spell over them. No, I just want those things to stand apart from everything else. And that gives me a rough cut of next week's action, my wish list. Basically, I just built my backlog. And, well, it's always going to be more than I can practically accomplish, which takes me to the next step. And that's grooming my backlog. The goal here is to pick the right things to do, not many things to do. This is a key step because it cuts to the heart of the matter, which is what I'm not doing next week. This step is about saying no to a lot of items on my list. Only the right things should make it to the finals, and only then this entire exercise becomes meaningful. And yes, choosing those right things can be hard, and it's easy to get stuck here. What I found works at this step is asking 3 questions: what, why, and so what? What does the finished product look like? Why does it matter? Does it add or create value? And if the answer is no, or I cannot articulate the what or the why, well, that means it needs work. And so it's not happening next week. Those items get unchecked and they roll back up. And finally, I'm ready for the next step. I can now bring my selected items back into reminders. So I highlight, copy, and paste. And just like that, reminders create a separate task for each of my bullets. Zero friction and barely any effort. Reminders is an amazing task management tool. And just like Notes, it creates tremendous power behind a simple and minimal interface. But if you learn how to milk it, you'll love it. All right, let's go back and organize our stack. I'm still not quite ready to schedule anything just yet, because before I do that, I need to value sequence my tasks. Meaning, I want to tackle the most valuable tasks first. If you ever manage projects, you know that the most valuable tasks are not necessarily the ones with the highest priority. I look at it as a clock versus compass, busy work versus accomplishing. Anyway, the most valuable directional stuff goes at the top of my list. I simply drag the tiles around and arrange them in the right sequence. And then I use another amazing reminders feature. I group related or interdependent tasks by creating subtasks. And to create subtasks, just drag one task over another, like this. And you can mark each subtask as complete independently. You can also collapse the stack for a cleaner view. And if you ever need to unlink them, simply pull any of the subtasks out of the stack and drop it elsewhere. It will become a standalone tile. This helps me visually absorb the gravity of my workload, which, as ugly as it may be, I'd rather look at it than have it camping out in my head unsupervised. What I like about this step is how visual and tactile it is. It helps me warm up the gears up here. By the way, if you are interested in coaching with me on how to organize and manage projects, build durable workflows and processes, hit me in the comments below or email me. I'll be thrilled to work with you. Next step is about context, which is anything I may need to work on my tasks: emails, notes, screenshots, or whiteboards. Why? Because this simple exercise helps me understand if I'm missing something that I would need to complete my task. You get this, right? If I don't scope this out now, then when the time comes to work on that, if I don't have everything I need, it's just not getting done. And worse yet, I will waste valuable time that I could spend on doing something else. And no amount of scheduling or time blocking will help. But I don't overthink this. This is just a simple mental scan. And by the way, I almost never do this sitting down at my desk. This is a couch exercise with iPad on my lap and pencil in my hand. And then I drag and drop notes, emails, images, calendar events, or web URLs into reminders, like this, or like that. Pretty cool. Unfortunately, I cannot drag and drop my freeform board, so I need to click on the share button, select reminders, and then pick a list or board. Or I can scan documents and add images or photos right into my task tiles. Just click on the eye icon, scroll down to add image. If you're on Mac, right-click, select the device you want to use, and your Mac will wake it up and unlock your device and will fire up the camera in the right mode. At this final step, I'm finally ready to time box each of my weekly tasks. And for this to work, let's make sure that our calendar and reminders are connected. It's easy to overlook, but it's one of those little things that make Apple ecosystem so good. So let's make sure it's on. With that out of the way, let's set up reminders and calendar side by side. I like this view because I can glance back and forth between reminders and calendar to see where I can fit my tasks. I first review my calendar. I always have a bunch of standing commitments, and so I have to work around them. But I take that as an opportunity to reassess and, blow some things out if I can. So I free up some time here, but then the question is it enough? And that's why contacts are so crucial here. If I don't know what's involved, I can't realistically estimate how much time I need, now can I? And then I have to take into account life, which tends to ignore my schedule. Urgent things just show up, and because I know it will happen, I don't schedule things back to back if I can help it. Anyways, once I cleared my schedule, I go back to reminders and knock my list down task by task. At this step, I make sure that tasks show up when and where I need them. So let's click on the eye icon and go over the options. Repeat reminders is my favorite. I also like setting up early reminders if I need to prep. Then there is a new option to set up an alarm, an actual alarm that we use in the morning. It will blare on your iPhone at the scheduled time. Next down, tags. Tags are wonderful to quickly filter your board, so create smart lists. You can add as many as you like, but I suggest you create at least one, a special tag for your weekly items. I use WP for each task on my weekly plan, and this weekly planning tag allows me to quickly filter out what I have left for this week and make adjustments. And I can also quickly identify everything unfinished for next week's plan. Next, I flag what needs to stand out. Then I set priority. You can also add location or message triggers. And lastly, we can add images, scans, or sketches. And now the cool part. The date and time that I added here in reminders triggered this task to show up in my calendar. So now I can hop into my calendar and time block. It may seem redundant to have this task in two different apps, but there is a reason for that. First, I can set up my reminders to pop up early and repeat, and second, it allows me to track what did not get done. Because, having this time blocked in my calendar doesn't mean it's getting done. And well, after this, the only thing that's left for me to do is to get it together and do what I said I will do. And now let's talk about what's missing. My top of the list wish for Apple was to be able to create calendar events by scanning anything that has date and time. Apple Calendar is an essential tool. It's reliable and it's functional, but the input is still very manual. But a couple of months ago, I came across Lumical, a super handy new app that fills that gap and does an outstanding job at that. The interface is clean and intuitive, very Apple-like. You open the app and you know exactly what you're looking at and how to navigate. With Lumical, you can scan anything that has time, date, location, and people. The typical stuff that goes into our calendars, and you barely have to lift a finger. I've been using this app for the past 2 months, and I love it. Here are two of my absolute favorite features. Number one is scanning handwritten text with appointment details. Simply point, snap a photo, and Lumical will create an event in your calendar or reminders, or both. And my second favorite is snapping a photo of my screen to create an event right away. At my job, we often negotiate a call, date, and time via email. And do you know how many times I forgot to set up a meeting after that? Many. Just point at your screen and take a photo. Tap Use Photo, Review, and Save. That's all. And there is more. Lumical can actually recognize multiple events, like a travel itinerary or a session board at a conference. You can use it on pretty much anything that has a time and date on it. It's so cool. It completes my tool set and aligns with my philosophy, which is the less time I have to spend on admin, meaning things that I need to do, the more time I have for things that I want to do. Well, today we have something special. I'm giving away 10 licenses with lifetime access to Lumical. To enter the giveaway, just drop a comment telling me what new features you like to see in the Apple ecosystem to help you stay organized, efficient, and productive. I'll pick 10 winners from the most thoughtful responses and announce them on the community feed on the channel. And if you don't make it to the final 10, use code BYROMAN to get a massive discount on the lifetime access to this app. And now it's your turn. Take what I just showed you, the brain dump, the backlog, the review, and the scheduling, and try it this week. And let me know in the comments how it goes. And thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next one. I love you.